Good morning, students. As we are discussing about various life processes, out of which the important life process is nutrition. And today we'll discuss about nutrition in human beings, that is, how human beings obtain food and digest it. First of all, we or even each and every living body requires energy to work or to function all its metabolic activities. So body cells need energy to run each and every cellular processes, and animals obtain this chemical energy from food, and energy is derived from breaking down these food particles and to obtain energy. And all these nutrients which are present in various types of food, they actually break down in order to form simpler substances which are used to derive energy in our cells. And the important nutrients which are present in food that we are taking in are basically of three types: carbohydrates, proteins, and fats. That you already know about these. Just a little idea. Carbohydrates are actually energy giving food. That means the nutrients which release energy when they are broken down in our cells. And basically, carbohydrates are various types of sugars and starch. And as we know that plant food contains basically starch, so all that food that we eat contains starch, and starch is actually made up of various monomer units. As you can see in the diagram, starch is a kind of polymer which is made up of many molecules of glucose. And whenever we take in starch, so it as such is not utilized in our body. Rather, our digestive system breaks down this starch to release glucose molecules, and these glucose molecules are further used by cellular or respiration to produce energy. Next, the important nutrient that we require are lipids or fats. Fats are obtained from various oils, butter, ghee, etc., and various, you can say, nuts also have a variety of fats. And these fats are actually required for energy as well as for proper functioning of our body in the form of, because these lipids are used to form hormones in our body, and they are also required to make cell membranes. And these fats are also, you can say, polymers, large polymers, which are made up of various monomer units of fatty acids and glycerin. Proteins are another very important nutrients present in food, and these nutrients are made up of various amino acids. Means they are a long chain. As you can see in the diagram, proteins are long chain of amino acids. And whenever proteins are digested in our body, so they are finally broken down into amino acids, and these amino acids are used by our body to produce variety of cells. Next, we'll discuss how food is getting digested in our body, or the system which helps to digest food is known as human digestive system. Actually, human digestive system includes alimentary canal. As you can see in the diagram, a long tube starting from mouth up to anus, and this is entire tubular structure which is known as alimentary canal. And it includes various important digestive glands. Glands are actually, these are exocrine glands which are connected with the digestive system with the help of various ducts, and they release chemical secretions in the form of enzymes into the specific organs. And these glands are very important for digestion because the chemical secretions, which are known as enzymes, they are actually biological catalyst. Means ये एक ऐसे सब्सटेंस हैं जो बायोलॉजिकल डाइजेशन प्रोसेस को स्पीड अप कर देते हैं. In the absence of enzymes, it will be very difficult to digest food that we are eating. If our body doesn't produce these enzymes, so it will take approximately 100 or more years to digest a single meal. but actually these digestive enzymes help to digest this meal within 4 or 5 hours. So this is how these digestive glands are very important for our digestion. So first of all, ingestion, the first step of nutrition in which an organism obtains food. It takes place in through mouth in human beings. That means mouth is the organ which helps in ingestion or taking in food. And also first step of digestion starts in our mouth itself. Actually, the mechanical digestion in which the larger particles of food are broken down by our teeth. And as you know that there are four various types of teeth present in our mouth: incisors, canines, premolars, and molars. And these teeth collectively help to tear food and further grind it. And another important organ present in our mouth, that is tongue. It helps in moving food within the buccal cavity, that is the cavity present in our mouth, and it also helps to mix the food with saliva. Saliva is a watery substance which is secreted by the glands present in our mouth, and this saliva actually it starts secreting whenever some sensation, like when we smell food or when we see our favorite food. So some watery liquid starts secreting in our mouth, which is known as saliva. And saliva is secreted by actually 3 different types of salivary glands. As you can see here in the diagram, in our mouth, there are 3 types of salivary glands: parotid glands, submandibular glands, and sublingual glands. As you can see also their location, according to the diagram, they are present near the in the cheeks and in the lower jaw and in below the tongue, you can say. And these salivary glands secrete a chemical secretion which is known as saliva. Saliva contains mucus and an important enzyme, salivary amylase. Mucus helps to provide moisture, or you can say it keeps the buccal cavity moist. And also mucus present in saliva convert the food into a paste, which is called bolus. And salivary amylase enzyme, which is present in our saliva, it is a kind of enzyme which helps to break down carbohydrate, basically starch present in our food, and it converts starch into maltose, which is a kind of simple sugar. So 30% of starch gets digested in our buccal cavity by the action of saliva, which is secreted by salivary glands. So you can say that first step of digestion in which starch is getting digested in our mouth. Next is esophagus. From the mouth or the buccal cavity, the food enters through pharynx in esophagus. Esophagus is a thin tube which you can say pushes the food towards the stomach. It is a muscular tube, and regular contraction and relaxation takes place in this tube, and that help the food to move in a particular direction towards stomach. And this rhythmic movement of esophagus is known as peristaltic movement, which helps the food to move further towards stomach. Next, stomach is a very important organ of our digestive system, which is actually connected through esophagus, and it is a J-shaped muscular organ, as you can see in the diagram. And food in the form of bolus enter in our stomach, and here stomach actually is connected through esophagus by the help of a sphincter muscle, and this muscle controls the movement of food in one direction, that is towards stomach. And walls of the stomach are they contain certain glands which are known as gastric glands, and these gastric glands secrete a kind of, you can say, juice which contains hydrochloric acid, enzyme pepsin, and mucus. And the gastric glands, the juice secreted by the gastric glands contain these 3 specific substances, HCl, which helps to provide acidic medium, and also it helps to kill microbes which enter in our body. Actually, the enzyme which is secreted by gastric glands, that is pepsin, it works only in acidic medium. It requires a pH approximately 1.5 to 2, and that is why this acid is produced in our stomach to provide that acidic medium. Otherwise, the saliva or the salivary amylase works in a neutral medium, approximately 7 pH range, 6.8 to 7. But the medium is converted into acidic by the help of HCl here, and mucus protects the walls of stomach from the corrosive action of HCl, because HCl is a very strong acid. It can corrode anything. So, but the walls of our stomach are protected due to the layer of mucus. And one important enzyme that is secreted by gastric glands here is pepsin. Pepsin is a kind of enzyme that breaks down protein, and it breaks down proteins which are complex molecules of polymers of amino acids, and these are broken down into simple proteins known as peptides. And one another enzyme which is secreted in infants to digest milk is renin. Renin digests caseinogen protein of milk to convert into casein. Next is food from the stomach. Actually, in our stomach, food is converted into a fine paste which is known as chyme, and this enters in the small intestine. And small intestine is actually highly coiled, thin tubular structure which is actually 5 to 7 meter long. Actually, in herbivore animals, the small intestine is very large, because herbivore animals actually depend on grass and other leafy food, and that requires cellulose to be digested. Hence, their small intestine is very large. Whereas for carnivores animals, this small intestine is smaller in size, length, because animal proteins are easy to digest. And basically in human beings, it is 5 to 7 meter long, consisting of 3 major parts. First, the initial part is called duodenum, and the middle one is called jejunum, and the last part of this small intestine is called ileum, as you can see in the diagram. Next, when the food enters in the initial portion of small intestine, that is duodenum. So have a look at the diagram. Here you can see that two another important glands are connected with this duodenum with the help of ducts. These are liver and pancreas. That means liver and pancreas send their important secretions, chemical secretions, into the duodenum in order to digest food. And these two secretions are actually bile and pancreatic juice. Now, first of all, we'll discuss role of liver. Liver is a very important digestive gland. It's kind of exocrine gland and the largest gland of human body, which secretes bile juice. Bile juice actually does not contain any digestive enzyme, but it is very important for the digestion of food, because it contains various salts and pigments, and these salts and actually provide a kind of alkaline medium, basic medium, because the enzymes which are secreted by pancreas require basic medium in order to digest. So here this alkaline medium is provided by bile juice, and also bile juice contains certain pigments that help in emulsification of fats. Emulsification is a kind of process in which large fat globules or lipid globules are converted into smaller ones. And this is a very important process, because without emulsification, the further digestion of fat molecules in by the help of pancreatic juice will not take place. So emulsification of fats and alkaline medium is provided by liver. Next is role of pancreas. Pancreas is another digestive gland. Actually, it is kind of gland which works as well as like an endocrine as well as exocrine gland both. In the form of exocrine gland, pancreas releases certain enzymes to digest food, whereas in the form of you can say endocrine gland, it releases hormone insulin in order to metabolize sugar in our body. But here in digestive system, its role is as an exocrine gland, and it releases its chemical secretion, which is known as pancreatic juice, which contains various bicarbonate salts and three important enzymes: lipases, proteases, and amylase. Amylase helps to digest starch. Protease, that is trypsin, help to digest protein, and lipase, as the name starts with lipids, so it helps to digest lipid in our small intestine. And pancreatic amylase digests starch into maltose. Lipase digests fats into fatty acids and glycerol, and trypsin digests proteins into simpler proteins, that is peptides. And this entire process takes place in our initial portion of small intestine, that is duodenum. Next, the food enters in the next portion of intestine, that is jejunum, where intestinal glands, the walls of intestine actually have certain glands which release various types of enzymes in the form of intestinal juices. And these enzymes actually help to complete digestion here in order to break down all these large polymers of proteins, carbohydrates, and fat, which are actually partially digested up to the duodenum part. Okay, so now the proteins are finally digested into amino acids, carbohydrates are finally digested into glucose, and fats are finally digested into fatty acids or glycerol. So here you can say the complete digestion takes place in jejunum. Next is absorption of food. Now, the walls of small intestine, basically in jejunum and ileum, there are many finger-like structures. As you can see in the diagram, they are present, and these finger-like projections, which are present in the inner wall of the small intestine, they have rich blood supply. They are filled with lot of, you can say, blood vessels, and this is the important site of absorption of various nutrients. अभी जो बेटा small intestine में digestion complete हुआ है, and variety of nutrients, simple nutrients are present like glucose, amino acids, and fatty acids and glycerol. These are simple digested products, and these products are now, you can say, diffuse into blood through these villi, because these villi are folded, because these folds increase the surface area to a large extent for the absorption of food. So here absorption of all various nutrients take place in the small intestine. So it's very important to understand that small intestine is the organ of our digestive system in which complete digestion takes place. Also, the nutrients are absorbed and mixed with blood by the help of villi. Next, the undigested food, which is left over in the small intestine, enters now in large intestine, but still it is watery, and hence lot of water and minerals from this digested food is absorbed in the large intestine. So large intestine does not help in further digestion, rather it only helps to absorb water and minerals. And the undigested food is now, which is now called as fecal matter, is formed from fiber and other undigested material, which is sent into another portion of, you can say, digestive alimentary canal, that is called rectum. Here in the diagram, you can see large intestine basically can be, you can say, called, or it is classified into three portions. The upper one is known as transverse colon, and the left hand side portion is known as ascending colon, and the right hand side one is known as descending colon. These are three portions of our large intestine where absorption of water and minerals take place. And the food enters in rectum, where it is undigested material is entered in rectum, where it is stored for some time. And the last process of nutrition, that is digestion, is taking place by the sphincter movement of anus. Anus is the, you can say, opening of alimentary canal that is used to throw out waste or ingest, you can say, excrete out waste in the form of undigested material. Let us see now some as a summary of important digestive enzymes which are secreted by salivary glands, gastric glands, and pancreas. And as salivary gland contains ptyalin or salivary amylase that helps to digest starch in maltose. Gastric glands secrete pepsin, which helps to digest protein into peptides or peptones. Renin, which is secreted in infants, it helps to digest milk protein casinogen into simpler protein casein. Pancreatic juice contains various enzymes. Pancreatic amylase works on starch to convert it into maltose. Trypsin breaks down proteins into peptides. And pancreatic lipase actually, you can say, digest emulsified fats into fatty acids and glycerol. And you remember one thing, these fats are emulsified by the help of juice secreted by liver, that is bile juice convert normal fats to emulsified fats. And this is very important because emulsified fats can only be digested by the help of pancreatic lipase. So this is all about various digestive enzymes and the process of digestion. Hope everything is clear to you. Thank you and have a nice day.